Hello lads, ladies, gents, ladetts, whoever, whatever. Welcome back to another video. As you can see, I have the ever beautiful Chad with me from End of Ember. As you can see, the lovely poster in the background. We've got some pretty big updates that we want to cover for the game today. But Chad, introduce yourself for anyone who's seeing this and your beautiful face for the first time.
Hey Karlec, how you doing, man?
Another day in paradise.
Good, living the dream. Yeah, I'm Chad. I'm the production director or cat herder of Bad Plan Studio. So I basically do all the things that are around not actually making the game. So it's the best because I get to talk to Karlec and content creators and do marketing, planning, budgets, finance stuff. We just finished a big grant application actually. So South Australia has grants now, and we've had literally zero money to make the game so far. So hopefully we'll get some money to make the game now. And so, yeah, that's the sort of thing I do, all the non-dev stuff, business and production stuff, yeah.
Yep. And just quickly, if you can give it a little bit of a background or just a quick overview of End of Ember for anyone who may have not have seen anything on my channel or anyone else's channel, in which you will see some streams that are going to be happening in the next couple of weeks covering the game, but we will get into that shortly.
Yeah, so End of Ember is our hook, is that End of Ember is a maximalist Isaac-like, super cute, super gory, and totally unhinged. So it's a little bit like, I mean, people come up and they go, oh, looks a bit like The Binding of Isaac. And I'm like, yes, it's a lot like The Binding of Isaac.
Yeah.
So we just lean into that with our marketing now.
Yeah.
Because most people want more Isaac. There's no sequel or whatever, and they love spiritual successors to it. So it's not like, people don't see it as derivative or whatever. So it's a top-down twin-stick shooter, roguelite, about Ember is a young adult who gets accidentally sent to hell on her birthday. Encounters a chainsaw, sentient chainsaw, and then has to blow the shit out of a bunch of demons, basically.
But not in the way you're thinking, you dirty-minded fucks. But that's for later. But no. Also, like, for anyone who, if you've never played Binding of Isaac and you're like, what's another good game? I'd also say it's very reminiscent of Cult of the Lamb, which is another fantastic of that genre. It's unfortunately a genre that doesn't really get a lot of games in it. Like, don't get me wrong, there's probably a million indie devs who are putting them out, but we're not really seeing them break through to that mainstream. But they're such a fun genre because you've got a bit of the bullet hell aspect to them, like the old arcade systems, but at the same time, because you got the roguelike elements, it just feels fresh every time you play. And I do highly recommend checking Binding of Isaac, Cult of the Lamb, and there's plenty of others out there that are great. But I'm all in on End of Ember. So far, it is my favorite version, and that's not just me brown nosing and kissing ass. I very much love all the references, the goofiness, but like, it's not silly for the sake of being silly. It's silly within reason, and the just general design, the artwork, and all the hard work that's gone into it shows that it is very much a passion project as well.
Yeah, it's really strongly art-led. So our creative director, Dan McGuinness, is it's like dream project, passion project. And they always say, don't make your dream project. Like, don't do your passion project for a game sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, you're not my dad. So, I mean, I also think that you need to love the game that you're making. So you need to have that. But I think the problem with a dream project is that you can get too close to it. And it can be hard to get some distance from it. But fortunately we have, multiple people on the team that can help Dan do that. And we have a bit of balance there. So it's cool.
Yeah, I know, like, even for just general content creation, like, I've got my StarCraft video that I'm very, very passionate about, but I have deliberately delayed it a lot because otherwise it's all I'm going to do, and I'm just going to hyper-focus it too much, and it's never going to be perfect in my own eyes.
So yeah, that's a huge thing.
Chip away at it, then it's a little bit more like, okay, if I make a mistake, hey, I took 6 months of a break from it, so I can't beat myself up for that.
Well, I mean, we're really lucky because Dan's a very accomplished illustrator and artist, and he's really passionate about what he does, and he loves the work that he does. But he's also really, really clear about you've got to ship, you've got to get it out there. Because if you work on something and you don't put it out there, you don't put it in the game, or you don't publish it, or you don't put it out there, no one sees it. It's like you never did it. So his discipline and his practice as an illustrator is always to put it out there and get stuff out there, and then make something new and keep putting stuff out there and keep trying to get that response and get that vibe from people. Artists will come up to Dan and go, "Oh, Dan, how do I be an artist like you?" And he's like, "Do stuff, like draw stuff, put it out there, draw another thing, keep doing it." So he does have that kind of must ship mentality as well.
Yeah,
So
if you take your
that's
first
critical.
step, you're going to get there. But if you never take the
Yeah,
step, how are you going to finish the marathon?
yeah, that's very much it. Yeah. So
So the game obviously has come a long way since I first reached out, and you've been to a few more live events, because I reached out. I think you did, what was it, SAG over in South Australia.
Sage.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the one.
And AvCon last year. So Sage was in February, AvCon in June, July, and then we saw you at
Yes.
PAX. Yeah,
Yes, I actually went outside. It was very, very terrifying. No,
I
it wasn't
dragged
too
you. I
bad.
told you
Yeah,
you should come and check out our
yeah,
booth. It was great. It was good.
yeah.
Good
No,
to
it
meet you
was,
face to face, man.
yeah, no, it was good fun. But can you give me a bit of an overview? What's it like setting up for something like PAX, like getting involved with it, and sort of being at the event and the challenges you face with that?
Yeah, so we were really lucky. We get like a fair bit of support. People. I said we haven't received any money to make the game, but we have had some support. And so we had someone from the state government here. Hi, Claudia. Thank you. Came along and said, "Oh, they do sponsored PAX booths every year." So they said, "Oh, do you want one of our sponsored PAX booths?" So that saved us $2.5 grand straight off the bat. That was really nice. And actually got us on the list, because the booths all sold out within a day as well, because the demand for indies to come to PAX was so high. So that was super critical. That made things a lot easier, and we probably wouldn't have done it if that hadn't have happened. Then the other thing was paying for accommodation and all that sort of stuff, which we just did out of our own pockets. That was kind of pretty hard. The hardest thing is the build, right? Is actually making the game, because game dev is really messy, and often what happens is, as you're building something, it breaks things, and so ideally you have what's called a stable build, and you add some things to it, test it, fix it, oh, that's good, and then you add the next thing, test it, fix it, and that's good. But it's not that clean usually. So the biggest challenge was just having the build ready, getting rid of those last bugs, making it workable, we had this persistent bug. Turns out that it was to do with Dan's laptop, where the game just screwed up when it goes up on a screen.
Yeah.
And that's just bad, So there was that, and that's fortunately not a huge issue for me, because that's the dev team who has to do that. But then the other thing we do is, my role is get in contact with people beforehand, all you folks, content creators, and, say, "Hey, you coming to PAX, come do an interview, come talk to us," and stuff like that. Pack the suitcase full of the t-shirts, because we had some t-shirts on sale this time. We had some stickers this time as well, so we brought them
Yeah.
along,
I've
and
still
all of
got
that.
mine that you gave me.
Really? You haven't
Yeah.
used it yet?
No,
Nice.
I'm waiting until the full game comes out, and then I'm going to decide where I want to put it, because I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I might get a new phone soon, so I might chuck it on that. But I just got recently one of those. It's called an AO Neo Pocket Air, and it's like a little emulation machine. It's
Oh yeah.
Android, but I use it to run up to PS2 games and stuff. And I've
Nice.
been playing that mad, so I'm like, oh, do I put it on that? Because I'm always looking at it, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
Well, it is possible to get more. We do have more stickers. Anyway, so there's all of that preparation. Then the event itself is it's hard, I mean, it's you're on your feet, it's your back. Fortunately, we're mostly pretty fit, and able to do that. But we get sore feet, we get sore backs, and all that sort of stuff, and we lose the voice as well. Fortunately, this year Dan didn't nearly lose his voice like he did last year, because he's just talking all the time. So there's that, and it was pretty gnarly for Eli as well. So this year, so Eli had been out for a big party weekend the weekend before, and was still recovering a little bit from it. And he kind of he kind of decided this is not really his jam. So Eli's our programmer. If you don't know Eli, haven't met him before, and he just kind of decided that he just wasn't into it. He wasn't really enjoying it. He's not a super sociable person. Like Dan and I can just be like blah 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 blah, just talk about crap for it, whatever, forever, and that's really good because we got two people who can do that. But we were kind of like. I think Eli felt, oh, I should do it. It's making a contribution to the game. It's important and everything, but it's kind of like you're not enjoying it. You're not like really talking to people all that much. It's
Yeah.
kind of like figuring out where people fit.
Yeah,
And
getting
so,
the right
yeah, so
balance.
we've kind of decided that, Eli makes the game. He's a programmer. He doesn't have to be doing
Yeah.
the thing that Anne and I do.
Doesn't have
just
to be
getting
the
out and
seller of the
freaking out.
game.
Yeah, and all of that. So and it was like every night of PAX there was an event. It was a networking event, like a creators event for networking with creators, or a this or that, and then meeting people and trying to get some lunch and all that sort of thing. So it's hectic, but it was great because lots of people see the game, and we got we sold something like 20 shirts or something, which was like wild. People buying shirts for a game no one's ever heard of, so that's a good start. And and we had lots of creators come, lots of people doing interviews and stuff like that. So thank you for everyone who did some content off that. And then we also had, like, probably for the first time, we had like some people who were like kind of super fans, like kind of really almost weirdly into the game. There was one person who was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool. My daughter is going to love." I'm like, "How old's your daughter?" "Oh, she's 18. She's like an adult." "Okay, cool. My daughter is going to love this game. She's going to get so obsessed. She's going to need to be hospitalized. She's never going to stop playing it. She's going to be so into it." And I'm like, "Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Great." Write a review on Steam. Like people who are like, for the first time, and it helped. These events sometimes help with your audience, like defining your audience, and we've struggled with that. Not struggled, but we've refined our audience as we've gone on a little bit, and we've decided that our audience are like freaks and weirdos. It's like people who are into Rick and Morty and Mr. Pickles and like really weird anime cartoons, but also like kind of countercultural as well, and they don't mind the. Because it has a really kind of like fuck you vibe to it, like the game in a way, sort of thing. And it's like, so people who are a bit more straight laced or a bit more like, oh, this feels a bit weird. But there are some people, there's like this connection. And that's what we experienced at PAX, is that some people like connect it, like you have, Karlec, a little bit, right? People are just like, wow, I am here for this. I am so into this. This is amazing. And then we would have they would bring their friends, and then they'd come back and bring another set of friends and stuff like that. And we're like, that's it. It's a hard market segment to market to, because they're not necessarily just on Instagram and they don't have a Reddit subreddit or something for them. But it's like, okay, we kind of figuring out who the game is for, who's really into the game. And that helps our marketing and our thinking around audience and things like that. So that's how PAX went for us. It was pretty rad.
Yeah, because like the way I would describe it from my perspective as a consumer is it's very much a throwback while also being modern in terms of how it's going against the grain of what we would expect, especially given you look at the world of AAAs these days. You look at Sony. As much as I love the games they put out, it's revenge story after revenge story after revenge story. Then Xbox, no one knows what Microsoft's doing. I don't even think they know, to be fair. Nintendo's
raising prices on Game Pass, I think.
Yeah, doubling it, which is ridiculous. Nintendo's doing what Nintendo has always done. And, indies are sort of in this little spot where they've got this chance to really carve out a niche, because everything else is almost too polished and too hit marketing and these like checklists. Whereas you get to something like End of Ember and it's like, fuck your checklist. We're just making a game that people want to play and that we want to make.
And we're just going to do stupid shit.
Yeah, and it feels so genuine. And like I joked about it before, like when I did the stream and you guys were able to tune in, and I had the minigun with the sperm bullets and stuff like that. Like it gets so ridiculous so quick in all the right ways that it really makes you appreciate that it's not just, Binding of Isaac or A Cult of the Lamb, and like they're counterculture in their own unique ways, by all means. But I think, End of Ember has this real chance to be, in my opinion, like, like your 80s slasher movies, 90s slasher movies, like this real cult classic that over time just, starts to, like a rolling stone, just keeps building and building and building. And I think we're starting to see that now, as you said, you're finding your audience, and, you've gone from struggling to get some wish lists to, sorry, I'm completely
Still
forgetting.
struggling, don't worry.
Yeah, no. But like,
We did
you
have a
had,
nice spike, but
yeah,
yeah,
like,
the Alpha Beta Gamer.
yeah, that's the one. How you had that little spike there, and it's starting to slowly grow, and as the game is progressing, and obviously, hopefully, you do get this grant, and some more money can be put in to help polish things and make things even better than what they are, because obviously, unfortunately, everything in life does cost money, and it adds up pretty quick these
Game dev,
days.
thankfully.
Yeah.
Game dev's free. All you have to do is sacrifice your soul. It's actually weird, in the industry. It's really weird. There's so much energy and creativity and hard work and great products being developed, but on so little money. There's so many people doing in kind. There's so many people doing it on the weekends and doing it as a side hustle and things like that. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, hopefully people dig it, and it does get that audience, and it is a bit successful.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And just before we move into some other stuff, now there was an event up in Sydney not too long after PAX. Did you guys go to that?
South by Southwest. We did. We registered for it, but we were like, we'd done GCAP, which is a developer convention before PAX. We did GCAP and PAX, and we were like, I can't go to South by. It's too expensive, and we didn't want to do it. But there's a possibility of having a volunteer staff the booth for you. So we had a volunteer show our game to people, and we have heard of people who have played it at South by, and so that was cool. But yeah, so we were kind of half there. The game was, but we weren't. A bit weird. Probably wouldn't do it again. It felt a bit exploitative.
Yeah, but yeah, like I think an interesting question I want to ask with that though is, in regards to that, does it feel like, is it one of those things where it's like, if I could go back, maybe I'd just power through, or maybe I just wouldn't apply in the first place? Because if I'm
probably
not there,
power through, because it's just like we just didn't have the money. It's like there's a limit to these things, and also it's we were trashed by the end of PAX, like genuinely, and it's like so I probably wouldn't apply in future. I mean, one of the things that most people don't know, even a lot of devs don't know, is that in real life events are not hugely great for wish lists and digital discoverability and marketing. So you can see, I mean, I could show you the image. You can see your wish lists, and they go like this, and we go Sage, Avcon, and then Alpha Beta Gamer. There's a huge spike. That's that spike we talked about. And then even after that, some packs like that. So it's just not that great for online discoverability. It is good for other things, and it is good for forging and building relationships with creators. Absolutely, that's one thing. I got to see you and heaps of others as well, and people who I'd like missed at AvCon or didn't see at AvCon or hadn't responded to my email or something, my cold call or whatever, but saw them at PAX and was like, oh hey, how are you? I get to see you face to face, and then there's that connection. So that is probably one of the more useful things. And then one of the other cool things that happened was we had a little kind of campaign thing. So we have this thing called, or I call them Ember selfies. So we have like stickers, images that you can attach to selfies. So we would take photos of people at the booth. So you get the image, you put it on the photo, and people go, oh, wow, that's so cute. And I go, hey, can I post it on Instagram? And they're like, yes, please do. And we're like, yeah, okay, can I tag you? They're like, yeah, tag me. And then I can see it. And so I tag and collaborate. And then they go, yes, collaborate. And the traction was like massive. Like, it's really hard on social media, right? But we got over the weekend like 40,000 views, like 3/4 of them non-followers, so really good reach and stuff like that. So that was great as a kind of proof of concept of that kind of social media traction. But again, that didn't necessarily translate into heaps of wish lists, because it's like people aren't on Instagram and they're like, oh, cool, that's a cool thing, whatever. And they're not necessarily going to Steam and wish listing the game or whatever. So that's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely understand. Like, I think that's something that, because I'm not big with social media. I won't lie. I'm someone who tends to just look at shit posts on Instagram when I do use social media. I don't really care for it that much. And recently I uninstalled Instagram because I'm like, I just spend too much time looking at dumb posts. So I'm like, you know, I'm taking a break from it just to get myself back on track with everything else in life. But I remember as PAX was happening, because I came up, what was it, the Sunday? So the Friday and the Saturday, because I'd just sit there on my phone having a look, and your posts just kept showing up and showing up. And I'm like, it was really cool to see people engaging, you know, in this game that, you know, like that I care about. Obviously you do. It'd be a bit weird if you didn't, but you know, it's like, oh, fuck this game. Nah, but it's a spot where like it, you know, it's as a fan, you know, from my perspective, it's really encouraging to see other people finding interest in it, even if it is, you know, kind of, as you said, right, like it's not really translating yet to those wish lists, but at least it's getting the name out there and in the minds of people.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to be too down on it, but yeah. No, it is really good because it's like it's visibility and it's being visible and stuff like that. So, you know, I spoke to someone in the office today who was like, "Oh yeah, after PAX I saw all of that stuff and then I went and played End of Ember. I've been meaning to and I really liked it. And I told my friends about it on Instagram." I'm like, you know, so some of the outcomes are not, you know, are not necessarily visible and not necessarily seen. So overall, PAX was great. It was good.
Yeah, because like it's like with any video I post. Like if I take my Taking Out the Trash series, for example, like Back for Blood or Homefront, I don't know why they're doing as well as they're doing, but you know, thank you Steam sales, and those games are going for like $2. So I think that's why people are looking it up. Do I spend my $2 or do I hold it? But you know, it's like, oh, you got 18,000, 19,000 views. Now I would love for every single one of those to be subscribers because then I would be huge already. But you know, it's not always going to translate, but you know, even if it's 1% of 1%, you know, it's something that gets you on the board. So if you're someone out there who is either creating content, making a game, and you want to share it, don't be afraid to try different things like what Chad did with those photos. Because like, as I said, someone who is a fan of the product, it makes me more invested in it to see not just the team care about it, but seeing other people actively engage in it. It makes it feel like the community is starting to come together for it, and it makes it more special. Now,
what we're hoping is we're hoping to go to Bit Summer in Kyoto in Japan next year, and those selfies, we want to get an app so that people can do those selfies for themselves.
I'm not saying you need to get me in your luggage, but sneak me in.
Yeah, join the queue.
Yeah. I'll be security, I promise. They'd probably be like, fucking giant. I'll be like, yeah, you're right. But speaking of special, we have some special news you wanted to share in regards to End of Ember for next week.
So this weekend we're announcing the demo release date. Woo! So we have committed to releasing the demo on the 22nd of May. Next year, which seems like a long way away, but it will creep up. And there's a lot of dev to do before we get there. So we should have a trailer ready. We can release that. You can check that out. And yeah, it's a big step. It's a huge step because it's the first real release. Like we've had the game freely available to play, you know, via Steam recently and itch before that for quite a while. But this is kind of like it's a big marketing beat. So it's a big thing where you try and make a splash and all that sort of stuff. So so we're currently developing splitting the current content out into 2 levels. So all of the first 2 levels rooms are smushed into the current content, you know, this kind of alpha that we've got going at the moment. And so when Ember first goes to hell, she'll go into the into processing, human processing, because it's like when you first come to hell, you get processed and you all of that sort of thing. So all of the imagery is like factory imagery and, you know, body parts on conveyor belts and, you know, Chucky dolls and, you know, that sort of stuff. And then there'll be the first boss, and then there'll be the second level, which is the personal hells. And that's things like, you know, spiders and the dentist and, you know, darkness. And like, the idea is that every room is a personal hell of an individual. So there's that. And then there'll be a second boss. So we're building out all bunch of items and items and weapons and all that sort of stuff. But we'll be splitting into those two levels. The hub world will be the place that you go back to. So at the moment in the alpha, you just play, you go through, you beat the boss, and then you get the title screen, the end credit screen. But you'll actually go back to the hub world, and then you can rerun through the levels. And yeah, there'll be those two bosses in that progression. We currently have the new build has weapons, so that's one of the new things. It's like it used to be you would just pick up items and lots of different items. We now have specific weapons that you can build up and swap between weapons. So there's a bit more nuance, a bit more autonomy in your playability. You'll then be able to upgrade the weapons, with items to get these like kind of weird synergies. So there's a bit more persistence and light RPG elements. So all of those features are coming in and should be there in the demo May next year. So we're excited for that.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to it, especially like, new weapons, things like that. It's going to make the game just have so much more depth, as kind of cliche a statement as that is. But to go from an already enjoyable system to having, the ability to now layer upon layer upon layer just makes it even better, which makes it even more exciting.
I mean, the critical thing will be in terms of game design, they talk about gameplay loops. So, our core loop, the tightest loop is the room. You enter room, enemies spawn, doors lock, kill enemies, doors open, drop, pick up items, go to the next room, right? So that's the core loop, which is like kind of there. And everyone who's played Ember knows that that's the loop. And that loop comes from Isaac as well. But then the next level of the loop is the hub world. So, you'll defeat a boss, you'll go back to the hub world, and then you go and do another run. And that's like Hades type stuff. So, Hades has that hub world where you go to the hub world, you do some things, you can upgrade. We'll have cursed items so that you can have a bit like trinkets in Hades. So you get some buffs or some upgrades that will carry you through runs and things like that. So the idea is you have these loops that kind of go through. So that big hub world loop will be in there, and we just want it to be replayable. We want people to go, oh, what's the stupid build I'm going to get on the next one, or try and get through a part that I haven't been through yet, or give myself a challenge or something like that. So that's the plan.
So just to quickly continue with that, I've got one quick question with the items you can get, say like the cursed items, how you can get those buffs. Are you going to add in or are there any plans to add in like a risk reward system? For example, I've been playing a game called Hotel Barcelona by Sweary and Suda51, and you can set challenges where it's like, okay, you can no longer use your range weapon, but because you can't use your range weapon, you now do more damage with your physical weapons, and you get more resources in return for it. But now it's a shitload harder because you can't attack from a distance.
Yeah, absolutely. So our mechanic for doing that, or the framing we have for that, is the deal demon. So in our current trailer, our gameplay trailer, there is a shot of the deal demon, and that will be he's like a lawyer, and the room in hell is surrounded with contracts and things like that. So that's exactly what it is. It's like you can we have them in an Excel spreadsheet. I could explain what some of them were if I were ready, but something like that. You have less range but more melee attack, or you have less health but you do more damage. So those kinds of trade-offs. Now, the cool thing that I want to tell you, Karlec, is that those kind of trade-offs, what we're planning on doing, things like those trade-offs are. The plan will be that for streamers and for content creators, we're going to build Twitch integration into the game. So the idea is that, normal players, people who are not streaming, will need to choose whether or not they take this risk or reward thing. But a streamer will have their audience vote on whether or not they take it, and they have to take it or they have to not take it based on their audience vote. So that's one of these kind of Twitch integration mechanics we're looking at building into the system, so that so the streamer can say, oh right, okay, here's a risk and reward type thing. Okay, chat, vote. Do you want to do it? And then people will hashtag yes, hashtag no, or whatever, and then you have to go with whatever chat has decided. So that's one of the features we're planning on doing this Twitch integration. So for folks like you or other streamers, like audience can really get involved in the gameplay, like Cult of the Lamb, and many other examples of having done this. So hopefully that's a really cool thing for content creators to engage with, and people watching streamers as well.
Yeah, and if for anyone who is watching this, if you've never seen anything like that, you can also look up crowd control streams on Twitch. They're great fun. It's community-made versions for pre-made games that don't technically have the ability for that integration. So, like, I've seen people play through like Link to the Past as a randomizer, but then people can donate X amount of points or channel points or whatever to then go, okay, well, spawn this boss or give them this weapon or take away this amount of hearts, or there's a bunch of different like kind of effects you can do, and it makes it a lot more engaging for viewers. And in speaking of which, now I obviously heading into this knew about the Twitch integration because you sent me a link about it before. I'm going to have it in the description below for people because we do want to see everyone give their feedback, where you can say, hey, I like this one, maybe not so much this one, for ideas for stuff you want to add. Like one of the ones I think they're just going from the top of my head was having people like viewers' names show up over monsters and stuff. I absolutely adore that. Like anything that lets the viewers be more interactive with the actual stream just makes it so much more entertaining for both the streamer, from my perspective, and obviously for a viewer. Just because it's just it's everyone gets to play around. Yeah. So like one game that I was playing a lot earlier in the year is called Craft Day, in which, shout out to Pody, congratulations on the new baby. Hope you and the family are going well. But I named because it's sort of a city builder, but it's based around cards. But you can name your villagers. So I would name it after people in the chat to like just make it a little bit more interesting for them. And then, if someone died, everyone's like, rip in chat to X person who passed away or whatever, or use their nicknames. And it's a great way, to just get everyone involved. And it makes, again, just to go back to what I said before, it's like a community gets to really build around it, and it makes it just so much more engaging for everyone. Now, with the Twitch integration, are there any specific things that you would love to see that hasn't been put in, or things that maybe...
Look, I mean, what I'd love to see is more viewer agency in the game. So ideally what you would have is, it's almost like a multiplayer thing, right? Ideally what you would have is, like what I'd like to see, which is probably impossible, is to have viewers like actually controlling enemies, rather than just spawning enemies or spawning items or spawning weapons or stuff like that, kind of cosmetic stuff. Actually, the more that you could get audience actually control aspects of the game, but that almost comes into multiplayer gameplay, which is notoriously really difficult in game dev, and is probably way out of scope and really hard to do. But like you, those things where it's personalized, the main things I'd like to see is, one of the things that we want to have is, in the hub world, there's a couple of characters. There's Irritable Pus Dude. So the guy who you walk up to him and he says, "Get out of my sexy face, shit lips," which is one of my favorite lines in the game. It'd be good to have viewers be able to like type in lines of dialogue that then come up on the dialogue prompt in the dialogue UI in the game. So it's like, Karlec, get out of my sexy face, shit, or whatever, So things that, anything that brings up people's names. The cool thing in Lamb was you would have viewer followers. So you would have that thing where people would join and they would become a follower, and then the player could then like look after the follower or murder them or like kind of whatever, and they were part of the game in that way because it really tied in with the gameplay about followership. For us, having someone's name come up on an enemy and then you blast the shit out of them is a little bit less, like it doesn't have that kind of like long-term livability. Like it used to be that, a streamer could come back to their game and they come back to the follower and it's the named follower of one of their viewers, and it's more persistent and things like that. So I think the critical thing is, when you're designing this stuff, is to think about your game and the fun of your game, and like, that core gameplay, that core mechanic that already exists there, because you don't want to build something just for Twitch integration. because then people get annoyed if they're not streaming and they can't use those features. And you have to build, you have to build something just for that, which is kind of pointless. So for us, it's like, I think overall, somehow getting viewers involved in the chaos, that like that vibe that you get from End of Ember, which is like, partly the bullet hell thing, but partly the grossness or the gore or whatever, and getting people to be able to engage on that level. And you had a good idea actually about getting people to shape themes or re-theme the rooms or things like that. So one of the plans that we have in the back of our mind, hopefully if we get the grant, we can have a technical artist, is that we'll have different gore effects. So we want to get someone who can use a thing called shaders, where the blood is not necessarily just blood, it might be glitter, lollipop chainsaw style, glitter blood or pink blood or like kind of whatever. So maybe you could get viewers to, go glitter blood for 10 seconds or something like that. So engaging with that kind of playful chaos in the game is the main thing we want those features to serve.
Yeah, because like two other ideas I just had that I should have put in the thing is I think it'd be cool to have like in the hub world, basically, since it's meant to be, kind of like more or less like a big office-y sort of thing, having like a scoreboard, like kind of like, how they have at banks, like for the stocks and that, but have a scoreboard for like viewers and have like, give like assign points based on how active they've been, and it like scrolls across showing their name and giving them points. I think would be kind of cool.
Like a leaderboard
for the viewers, to give them more reason to be more interactive. And then also, if you're going to have like a conveyor belt of body parts, once you've killed a named enemy, that name could show up as a body part that like scrolls by.
Yeah, for sure. In the environment rather than just with the enemies. Yeah, because they're in human processing. There's a room called acid wash where there's these, these human bodies that kind of go and they get dumped with acid and they kind of go across. So getting viewers' names in the environment rather than just enemies who get blasted or whatever. Yeah, you're right.
I think that's to me that'd be a cool way to get just that little bit more interactivity. But I mean, ultimately, any Twitch integration, which is already going to be difficult enough to do, is muchly appreciated, because I think this game will excel very, very heavily with it. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's that one where like you just jump from truck to truck to truck and you got to get to the finish line. I remember playing a bit of that with some Twitch integration, and that was a lot of fun. Because people would just like blow up the trucks or like make them go like half speed or then super fast and stuff like that. And it just made it so much more enjoyable than just playing it on your own. As you said, like it gives more reason to interact with the game, its community, and trying to build things as well. Now, to move back into a little bit more behind the scenes for End of Ember, how will you say the team has been feeling as a whole over, say, the course of 2025 versus, say, 2024?
So team's a bit bigger. So we have two new programmers, Adam and Matt. And so Eli has some support in the programming. And Adam's pretty senior. He's kind of like a lead programmer, I guess. And so he's able to provide a bit more direction. And, when he does coding, he's like a wizard, which is fantastic. And Matt's a graduate. He graduated a few years ago. And he's really good at like kind of problem solving and bug fixing, and he just dives in and gets things done. So the team's a little bit bigger. And that's cool. It's kind of like, compared to 2024, I mean, this is the first full year that we've had on development. And it's up and down, to be honest, like anything, like any long project. And there are times where it's hard and we have disagreements, we have conflicts, and fortunately we tend to talk them out. So we don't let things fester, because you can't, that's really toxic. And that can happen, but then we've had some real highs. So, PAX was great. That Alpha Beta Gamer coverage was great. We've had good streams, we've had I think something like nearly 400 hours worth of streams of the game so far, which is pretty good since we don't have a demo yet. So that's really cool. We just like we constantly have people saying that they love the game, and we get that from one of the cool things is we get that from like industry people as well, like veterans, like people who know games and know the industry, and they go, "Oh, this has got potential." We're like, "Oh, thanks." I had someone come up to me who's from government and like knows industry quite well and said, "What are you planning on doing with this?" And I said, "Selling it for money."
Yeah.
And and it's like so we have a kind of a commercial orientation to the game. We do because it's not like we want to be billionaires, but we want to keep making games. We want to do another game that's like this, that brings joy and brings people together and is fun
Yeah, you'd
to,
want it
to
to be
to
able
make
to
and to play.
fund future
So
projects.
yeah, yeah, but at the same time, it's like slow. It's like development is really slow when everyone's part time and things go wrong and collaboration's hard, and all those sorts of things. So it's a really mixed bag. But the good thing is we're all fucking determined, and like we're not going to give up. So we want to see it out. We get really jazzed by the good outcomes that we do get, and everyone's like got a lot of persistence, a lot of determination to make it happen. So it's cool, but overall we're having fun. Overall, it's like it's good. We enjoy it. We pat ourselves on the back when we have good times, and we help each other through the hard times. So yeah, that's kind of how the year's been for us.
Yeah. One other big question I wanted to ask is obviously with the Twitch integration being a thing, the demo coming out, have you found that the scope of the project has stayed relatively the same, or has it started to grow just a little bit?
Well, Twitch integration is actually not super hard. People think it's hard, but Twitch hasn't. Well, it says I, the non-programmer. Twitch has an API that you can use, and my understanding is that with some features in particular, it's like
Pretty
not
straightforward.
not too hard, pretty
Yeah.
straightforward, depending on the systems that are already in your game. If your gameplay design and the systems that are there hook into this idea of Twitch integration pretty well, then it's not too hard. But scope is always a thing, and Dan, it hasn't really blown out because Dan's always had a big vision for the game, right? He's like he's inspired by like Gungeon and Isaac and games like that. And he's like, "Oh, Isaac's got 8,000 rooms." And you're like, "Yeah, it's procedurally generated, dude." But, and he's like, "We want to have so many hundreds of items and so many hundreds of rooms and all that sort of thing." So he wants it to be really, really rich. And he wants people to go, "Oh, wow, it's almost endless creativity. It's almost endless inventiveness where I could play the game for 50 hours and I'm still finding new stuff and still getting new synergies and things like that." So it's kind of always been that big. But I guess what's happened is that we've discovered how challenging it is to do each kind of piece of it. But we are getting there. Like a lot of the main core systems are in, and that's good. And so we're hoping that sometime early next year, all of those core systems will be mostly done, and then it's just lots of content. It's lots of new enemies and there are some new behaviors and things like that. But yeah, so scope has remained fairly stable, but we've discovered that it's harder to achieve that scope. Maybe harder to achieve than we thought.
So I've got a few more questions and then we can bring it to an end. But
Yep.
one question I wanted to also ask is there any thought process or potential of, say, challenge dungeons or, say,
Yeah.
user created dungeons where they can take pre made rooms per se, place their own enemies in it, and maybe upload for people to potentially then do as a quote unquote challenge dungeon?
Yeah, so challenge dungeons, yes, that ties in with the cursed items mechanic, and so the idea is that you'll have to do challenge dungeons, like particularly hard dungeons, a bit like Hades. You go down that one level and lose some health to get a cursed item, and then you have to do multiple of the challenges to get sets of cursed items, and they're persistent. You then own them and you equip them in the hub world before each run. So definitely yes, that's there. User generated content is not sure about that. That one is kind of a lot harder. It's not in our current scope. And there are tools that you can use and things like that, but it's something everybody wants. Everybody wants a moddable game. Everyone wants to be able to mod a game, and there are tools and there is middleware that you can use and things like that. But yeah, that probably won't get there until we've sold enough copies of the game to be able to retrofit it or something like that, or do it for a sequel or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you could always ultimately use the Twitch integration in theory to sort of do something of a similar vibe, I suppose. Like if in
Yeah,
terms
I mean,
of like
that is
they
one
can
thing
choose
you
rooms
could
and
have.
things.
Choosing rooms, yeah, that is a possibility because we have a room spawner where it's randomly selected, and we could just constrain that randomness with Twitch inputs. So yes, that's a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask that because, like, I know obviously challenge dungeons are a big thing in this genre, and something we haven't touched on before. And also user generated stuff. I know that, as you said, there are a lot of people who do love being able to mod games and kind of make it their own in that sense and create something different. Like if you look at Mario, it's had a whole new life in the modern world with the Mario Maker series versus, you know, like just the traditional what we would expect.
Yeah, and one of my students works on the Sky Oblivion project. You know, the merging of Skyrim and Oblivion, and there's a whole community behind that, and that's huge. And that drove a lot of the impetus behind the remake of Oblivion, of Oblivion, yeah. So modding's definitely a thing. It's just, it's just one of those things that's probably out of scope.
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't say Skyrim because you're going to give Todd Howard ideas. He doesn't need to sell another copy of
it. Yeah, on another platform. I've got a friend who's bought that game 5 times.
I've bought it twice.
Yeah, me too.
I think normal release and like for PC, and then like I bought they had like an Elder Scroll anthology that I bought, which is why I technically bought it twice. But that did also.
It's a great game.
It is.
If there's one game you're going to buy more than once, that should be it. It's great.
The only thing is, it's one of those games like I respect it a lot, and I have like it's like Last of Us. It's one of those games I really love it for what it is, but I struggle to personally play it a lot. Like I'll do about 20 hours of a playthrough of Skyrim and I'm like, okay, I've sort of got what I wanted out of it, but I'll watch people who do modded runs or challenge runs and stuff like that all day. Because I'm like, it's so cool, but it's just not for me to play, but I love the world and everything else that they've done with it. Now, I got to ask you this question last time of what's a game you would love to replay, but I'm going to give you another good question. What has been your game of this year? An indie game that you loved this year, if it doesn't happen to be number one, and you can't pick End of Ember because that's fucking cheating and you know it. And also,
it's also not released. Yeah.
It doesn't, but they also don't have to be a game that necessarily released this year. Just something you've played this year that you would love, that you loved, and you're like,
Split Fiction. So for me, did I say this last time? I'll probably just talk about this game endlessly with everyone. Split Fiction, by I can't remember the name of the studio, but the ones who did It Takes Two. So co-op only. I love that game so much. It's super fun, but it's a game developer's game as well. It's like, it's like there are novels and there's poetry and there's plays and all that sort of thing that are written for writerly people. They call it writerly books or readerly books. And readerly books are books that are written for like kind of anybody. Anybody can pick it up and play it. But there's so many. Like Split Fiction is so inventive and uses so many different systems and genres and perspectives and seamlessly slides between them. The narrative, I normally don't like narrative in games because I'm like, just let me blow shit up,
with Doom.
Yeah, right. It's like if I want a narrative, I'll read a book or a graphic novel generally. But the narrative of Split Fiction is exceptional, really, really good. The co-op gameplay is excellent, really well balanced, apart from maybe one or two kind of sections. The business model, I love how they do this. Friend plays for free type thing. So only one person needs to own the game, and then you bring in a friend for free, because then what happens is that friend loves the game and then they buy it and they bring in another friend for free. It's like genius, like bold. Just the fact that they've made a co-op, 2-player co-op only game, like, before It Takes Two, people would have said, games business people would have said, no, that's stupid. You never make a co-op only game because it's too exclusive.
The only game I could think that done something like that was StarCraft used to have what was called the spawning pool. where someone who bought the game could invite a person to come play with them, either in a one-on-one against each other,
Yep. Yep.
and they'll get full access to everything. They can do the arcade, or they can play co-op. They can play multiplayer. They can do team games. Like you get access to the entire game as long as one person owns it. And then, but the problem was they ended up going free to play like 3 months after they released that, and everyone's like, "Well, that was pointless." So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Someone should have planned that a little bit more. So
yeah,
yeah, so that's the one split fiction, especially for like a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm looking for a game to play with my friend," or often people say looking for a game to play with my partner, or or whatever. And it's it's co-op, local co-op, and online co-op, and it's just like so inventive, and so like it makes me go, this is like what video games are capable of. This is what video games can do. And then you look at, FIFA 27 coming out, or like, Call of Duty, another Call of Duty, another Battlefield or whatever, which is like fine. Like people play whatever the fuck you want. It's fine,
enjoy what you enjoy.
but it's, enjoy what you want. I'm not bagging people or throwing shade or anything, but it's like the genuine creativity, the massive creativity in split fiction makes me go, this is what art is about, and it's so inspirational for a game dev to play a game like that and go, oh man, I'm so into this, and it makes me want to blow someone away the way the way I've had my experience of this game. So yeah, that's it for me. But there's heaps of games I haven't played this year, and I imagine that I probably would have really liked Expedition 33 if I'd gotten into it, and many others. There's so many other games, so I can't say that's the only one. But yeah, that's it. That's my pick.
Fair enough. Mine, everyone should know, is Promise Mascot Agency. It is very absurd, very weird. If you want something that's a bit more of a relaxed sort of game, it's not super action heavy. Like it's a bit more on the narrative side, but the narrative is sort of what you would expect of if you've ever played the Yakuza games, like a side mission in Yakuza. But it's like that's a full game, and it's like really fun, really absurd, because you got to go around finding these mascots who are living creatures essentially and helping them reform. So you start off with Pinky, who is just a giant Pinky that walks around. She wants to kill everybody, and she has a thirst for violence, but you've got to like help her become mayor of the town and all that. So you got to like get her to like calm the fuck down and shit. And it's just like there's a lot of just really absurd characters. It's a lot of fun, and like not to say that it's one-to-one, but there's definitely parallels to me with it and End of Ember, which is why I think I like both these games so much, where it's it's not pretty clean, pristine. It's dirty, gritty, gory, silly, funny, and doesn't take itself too seriously in all the right ways. The new Digimon game, Time Strangers, phenomenal. Really enjoyed that. Haven't finished it, but really, really enjoyed that. That's been a good time. Anyone picking the female Digimon, you're a fucking gooner and you know it. Put your dick away. And the kind of I've still got Dawnfolk as a top 3 for me at the moment, which is one that I did very early on this year, which is by a solo dev out of France, and one that I've been playing a crap load of, which some of you may have seen on the channel over the last week or so, is Kingdom of Night, which is a action RPG with an 80s aesthetic. And it's got like, you've got Terminator references, you've got Lord of the Rings references, you've got Dungeons and Dragons, but you've also got stuff where it's not playing kind and nice. It's willing to, like one of the things is like, P.S. you're gay, like they're not trying to be politically correct or anything like that. They're just having fun with it, because it's not meant to offend or anything like that, because it's just being silly. Like this year has been so fucking phenomenal for games that it really frustrates me that there are so many people going, oh, gaming sucked this year. It's like, yeah, because you keep playing the same fucking FIFA, the same Call of Duty, the same Battlefield. Like, play the other stuff, please.
A bit. But you know what? Like, some people will never be happy unless they're unhappy. I think that some people just love complaining.
That's me.
And gaming is a great culture for complaining. And it's like, hey, that's if that's what people want, they can get that.
So just real quick before we do completely wrap up, if you want to do any shout outs, and also just quickly go over the details for the demo one more time, just in case anyone missed it, and we will leave it there.
Yeah, shout outs to everyone who's played the game. Thank you. And everyone who messages and has bought a shirt. Any support that you can offer to us, but to any indie dev, anyone out there doing it tough, like good on you and thanks. Shout outs to them. So End of Ember, playable on Steam playtest for free right now. And our demo will be available at the end of May, 22nd of May, 2026. So
I hope you all look forward to seeing me play the shit out of that, because I will probably be doing it nonstop. So I'll see you guys all in the next one. Stay safe out there. Bye.
ciao.